What is up guys, Wraec is here with a new video and today with a guide for the Nocturne Judicator, our newest Primal Lord boss fight in the game, and you can see him there, absolutely menacing, great design in my opinion, and probably the coolest boss fight we have had so far. And not for the reason that he looks pretty great, it is actually because we get a little bit of a companion here that we fight this guy together with, so let's check this out. First of all, there is of course big loot right here. We have the Lawbreaker title that you can get, which is pretty fancy, and gets even more fancy when we go into the district ranking, where you get it in the special version featuring like the helmet of the Nocturne Judicator and the sword, and of course there is the title, the Eternal Darkness title, which also looks fairly great. I really like it, but that's not the special thing about this boss. The special thing you see once you start going into the fight, and right here we see we are actually not alone. We have an assist hero, and that is the first time I think against the Primal Lord would we had an assist hero. And this Midnight Hunter is an absolute menace. It's a war golem left behind on the ancient battlefield, and this guy is not only Paragon 4, which is pretty cool, but also will deal the damage for us against this Nocturne Judicator, and we have to support him in this fight. And this is also the structure that our teams will have. So mostly based around support heroes. That seems to be the meta at the moment. I will present you guys with 3 teams and a few optional heroes that you can use to put into the fight, and that will help you face this menacing danger of the Nocturne Judicator. So maybe let's start off watching a fight. Don't be afraid, I will show all the teams later on in an infographic, and also I will put you guys the code to copy the formation down below in a pinned comment, so don't be afraid, you won't miss anything when you can't copy this team right now. So let's just start a fight, let's see if we do some good damage. This is not the best team that was found so far. The little bit annoying thing that I already want to say is, well, it seems like all the best teams that were found so far feature twins, which isn't too surprising given that we are in a support position right here, and twins, well, are by far the best support hero at the moment. But I get that not everybody has them, so I want to feature some heroes that you can use to maybe replace twins. Granted, probably at a little bit of, well, a damage fall off that you will receive, but nonetheless should do fairly well. So we can see right here Midnight Golem slamming in on that Nocturne Judicator answering of course as well with pretty mighty hits that we have to say. If you face too much damage against this guy, well, there might be some ways that we can counter that. I will go into that when we go more into the skill details, which we will go do after this fight. Already counting in at 150 billion, which is probably not the best we will do throughout this fight. As you know, every single day people do a ton of work discovering new teams, trying to find new weaknesses of those bosses. So I will keep you guys updated whenever there is a new team. Let's check out our details. We managed to immediately snack place 1. Should probably put that on the thumbnail, honestly. Let's see. Got a ton of loot right here. You also get Crimson Essence, which helps you get some more of those red charms, which are really important for the team. You can see some of my heroes didn't have those yet, but for many it is actually quite important because it will make it easier for you to actually fight. You can see my team didn't really do a whole lot. You can see even Sonya, which is a pretty potent damage dealer, only counting in at 12 billion, which is not nothing, but compared to what the Midnight Hunter did here with the 117 billion, we see there is our focus. There lies the majority of our damage. So let's maybe go into the skills of those two a little bit, because really we have to look at both to actually understand this boss fight. And you can of course check those out in game just by starting a battle. You will see that you can click on this guy, hold him a little bit. By the way, you can't move him, so if you try to move him, we'll actually default back to the front position, which means we can't place him on any specific faction skill tile, so that is one thing to note. Yeah, we can check out the skills right here, or there is a very nice infographic also that was posted by AFK Journey. If you want to check them out in there, I will link you that down below as well. And so let's go through those skills very quickly before we get into the better teams, the best teams that were found so far. First of all, we see we have an ult right here, and this ult has a condition that you have to understand. If this War Golem has 3 or more stacks of Ancient Blessing or uses skill, we deal extra damage, and that is by quite a lot of amount. We only deal 600% damage like this, and we can increase the damage to 900%. So this is very nice if we get this Ancient Blessing going. And now we ask, how do you do this? Well, gains 1 stack on Ancient Blessing upon receiving a non-permanent buff from an ally. What is that? If you've played Diurnal before, you may know it, but non-permanent buffs are in general all the buffs that say that they have a duration. Gives the hero X 15% of attack for 10 seconds. That would be a non-permanent buff in this case. And not only does this increase our damage dealt, it also can be used to utilize this for stronger attacks, not only on our ultimate skill, but also on our second skill. So this is already the major mechanic that you need to know. We want to buff this guy so that he gets Ancient Blessing, so that he deals more damage and can use it to do stronger attacks against the boss. That is like the get-go for the Midnight Hunter. The last mechanic that you need to know is this War Golem's HP attack and def are set to team's average, and the damage dealt to War Golems increased by 2000%. When struck by Fatal Blows, War Golem deactivates for a brief moment before reactivating the full HP. Didn't seem to be a problem on my team yet, but maybe if you have lower stats, you might run into this problem. So high team average, that is something that is very important here to give this guy stats. Let's go and check out the boss. Here we have a few less skills, but still those are fairly fatal. And you also see the same condition here. War Golem has 3 or more stacks of Ancient Blessing when casting a skill, increase attack range to 6 tiles, increase the damage dealt to 750%, and reduces enemy damage dealt. So this guy can also get Ancient Blessing, well, kind of differently. He has a default of 5 Ancient Blessing, and we can remove a stack from this boss by giving him a non-permanent debuff. So we kind of want to keep a balance on buffing our Midnight Hunter and debuffing the Nocturne Judicator, which is also part of the reason we're running a hero like Kruger here, who's very potent and at providing debuffs on the enemies. So this is something that you want to kind of keep in mind when checking your skills. If you can provide a ton of debuffs on this guy, that is actually a thing. Each enemy can trigger this effect only once, so even if we have one hero here, we can't kind of create like an Ulcer situation where we use one hero to just provide a ton of debuffs on the boss to activate this time and time again. We kind of have to kind of spread it out between the team. Second ability, kind of the same, upgrades when we have Ancient Blessing. So let's go and check out another team. This team is fairly similar. The difference here lies in that we actually use Sonya to buff our Golem, which is fairly interesting. And yeah, once again, with the twins seems to be the case here. We have a skip button, by the way, in case you want to use that. Let's go into the battle right here. Let's see how this works out. And maybe you can keep an eye out for that. You can see there are his blessings. There are our blessings right here. So you can keep an eye on that by just checking out the orbs every time one of those orbs vanishes. We know, okay, that's one less Ancient Blessing on the boss. At the moment, I think we only have 2, so that is fairly good. While on our guy, we have a pretty constant amount of 3 at the moment, which is also very good. So those teams that I show you right here pretty much enable you to do the very best you can to this boss, with a ton of debuffs that we inflict on him and a ton of buffs we can inflict on our guy. And of course, I mean, with what I already said, you can use other heroes that provide buffs and debuffs. Hugin, for example, would be an option if you want to just buff your guy a little bit more. If you want to buff your Midnight Hunter a bit more, provide him with a strong shield as well in case he's dying a little bit. A strong shield could, of course, help him survive a little bit more damage. You can see closing in on 150 billion there. Can we get a new record? That is the question, of course. I think we can, granted that we have 10 more seconds here to go. Enemy boss, of course, unaffected, so we can't CC him. That should be, that is stable for all the bosses, so nothing new. 157, 158, doing a little bit better there with the Sonya buff, but of course, I think we're losing a bit of survivability here. Still rank 1, let's check this out. 120 billion this time from this guy. And with that, I also want to mention one thing. I only have the Mauler talent at level 20 right now. You can go up to 30 on that, which will give you a little bit more survivability through one lifesteal talent that is in there, and of course a little bit more damage through a bigger stat buff. And the artifact that we use, Blade Summon Spell, at level 25 provides us with defensive and Fizz Def and Magic Def debuffs on the boss, by providing us with a pretty big amount of Fizz and Magic Def as well, and plus attack speed, which is really, really nice. So let's check out the last team that we have right there, and then I will show you the infographic with all the teams in there. Our last team right here, and we go into Fresto there, we go into Rainier, featuring a few more Celestial and Hypergen heroes, and of course going for the Celestial and Hypergen Tal, which I have at level 30, so that is fairly nice. Same artifact as before, twins in there, Shark here in there for a big attack buff, and of course we have Smokey as well. The boss doesn't really seem to have any kind of CC, so Smokey is fairly safe. We saw it in the last fight. Pretty constant supply of Smoky ult, which is really, really nice, of course. And in the Celestial and Hypergen tree, we also have a few buffs, which are really good to heighten our team average here. I'm really curious to see how much damage we can do with this. According to our sources, and all those teams are from the Vietnamese players here, they found all those teams. They have made a very nice infographic that I'm very eager to show you right after this fight, before we go into the optional heroes, into the heroes that you can use, but didn't make it into the optimal teams. And they made a very nice graphic also with this, and I'm actually curious to see. I mean, we're at 40 seconds already. Check this out. We're at 130 billion, 40 seconds left. That is really, really good. Of course, it would be really nice, honestly, if we could place Rainier in front of the Midnight Hunter. That would be pretty great. Sadly, I mean, I kind of think they saw this coming with the design they made for all those true damage conversion charms. They had a true damage conversion charm for Rainier, which converts a part of the damage to true damage for the hero behind him. And of course, in this boss fight, you can't put the Midnight Hunter behind him, which is fairly sad. But still, very nice. 158, breaking through 160. So this team seems to be actually a good amount stronger than the team we had before. Savvy support there by Rainier, securing us once again the place number 1. Interesting. Check this out. Actually a lot less damage here, but the Fresto, my god, keeps hammering in, and I didn't even have... Oh, that is now bad. I should have checked this out. Look at that. Definitely check out your charms. Could have gone for another red charm that they're completing the set. I mean, the ability doesn't really do a whole lot for us here, but that would have added some damage. So definitely take it away from this fight. You want to check out your skills. But we got place 1 again. 163 billion. Not bad at all. Let's check out the infographics. So this is the infographic made by AFK Journey themselves, featuring all the skills of Midnight Hunter and Nocturne Judicator. I will link that down to you below. You can see like all the design here, all of the front and back design, both look really, really insane. Pretty similar actually, this guy a little bit in better shape. Nocturne Judicator looks a little bit rundown, but you can find all these skills in here. So if you want to have a quick look at them, definitely check them out in here. It's a very quick and easy way to see them on the go or something if you want to just take a look and maybe theorycraft a little bit. And this one I love. It's from the AFKJ Vietnam Discord, discord.gg/AFKJ Vietnam. And they actually animated this, which I absolutely love. Looks gorgeous. A great infographic posted by Cheetos to the Discord. We can see E. Nlin, which I definitely butchered, but he got 200 billion with that. And I mean, we can still upgrade the damage a fair bit with the charms, with the level and everything, but this is the team that we used last. The other ones recommended at the 30 Mauler skill, which we didn't have, but would have added a little bit more damage to them as well. And those two are also down below, so you will find all 3 teams that are listed here down below with the code to add them to your formations. So I guess the major problem for some players will be that they don't have twins maybe at this point. They're still a very new hero coming to us to AFK Journey, so maybe a few replacement options are in order to do this. The good thing is in the teams aside from the first one, they don't fulfill the role of activating a faction skill. If you want to run the first team, you would have to replace them with another Celestial or Hypergen hero, which granted the options that we have right here, we don't really have another support. You could maybe go in with Scarletta, seems to be a little bit difficult. Fresto and Rainier were already on the team, and Beryl and Harak I really wouldn't run probably. Though it would be fun if we could get Beryl to eat the golem. I didn't test that yet. That would be something that I definitely want to test. So for the other 2 teams which we are more likely to run in that option, it doesn't really matter which faction you choose for the replacement for twins, as both of those are Mauler tiles and are activated through Mauler, so we are a little bit free in this option. A Rainier is definitely possible. I guess many players that play for a longer time should have Rainier. Is a very solid option to go for that. With the debuff for the enemy, some buffs for our team. Hugin I would definitely see up there, and of course our true and trusty Mikola should be a fairly decent support for that as well. Maybe even Roan, though that stands that we definitely have to test. Damien will be a little bit difficult, and if you have struggle surviving, I mean, Coco is always an option to go for. So for me personally, those 4 are really the options that you could take in terms of buffs that we have on the battlefield. One more thing that I want to point out, because some people don't know this yet. The reason Shark here is used is not as a damage dealer, it is as a support hero, and his skills don't really feature a lot of support from the get-go, but one thing that they do, and that he can do, and that is very potent and was used in a lot of teams already, is when you have him at +10. Each non-summoned ally within Lupine Aura can share the same bonus attack from Wolf's Will, which usually only buffs himself, but this attack buff then applies to everyone within Lupine Aura, which is a fairly big area of effect, so that really makes him viable for that. So you definitely should use him when you have him at +10. If you don't have him +10, maybe replace him through another hero, could potentially upgrade your damage, because without his +10 you can't really fulfill his buff role in this fight. So that is really everything I can tell you for the moment about this. Keep in mind, you definitely want to do those upgrades. Don't do it like me and forget about it, because that will give you a little bit of extra stats, and this will help you deal more damage to this boss. Also, in between boss fights, try to level up your heroes, because you will get, of course, more training manuals to upgrade them. And yeah, try to get that +1, try to beat this guy fairly fast. As much as I have heard is that this guy will go down fairly quickly, as we have a fairly high damage potential going right now. So definitely go in there today, try to do as much damage as you can, and check him out every single day as long as he's available. And maybe once he gets close to being defeated, try to be there at reset if it's possible within your time zone, and try to get some last hits in. Those always have a tendency to score you higher on the leaderboard, as you just have a higher level by then. So I hope I helped you with this guide. As you know, all the codes are down in the pinned comment. And with that, I wish you a great day. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see us in the next one.